This week on the Beyond Worlds podcast, we got a super special guest back with us in the studio, which is online videos. We back once again, like Renegade Master. We have Ken.
Thank you for having me back, guys. I'm Ken, and it's a pleasure to be here.
And Ken is with us today to have a look at Path of Exile 2. It's the boys' first impressions, and let's see what they think. So thank you for joining us in another world. Welcome back to the Beyond Worlds podcast. I'm Beyond Joe.
And I am still Stephen.
And I'm Ken, and I'm back.
Back again, like a Renegade Master.
Back again.
Back for the, I can't remember the rest of it.
Those curious why we started this podcast laughing is because this is our second attempt at an intro. It was a pretty good intro, the first one as well, which is
we were doing all right.
Yeah, so hopefully this one goes just as well. I forgot to press record. We were on a new recording system, so I blamed that. But we have cameras, which is brilliant. And we have Ken here with us. Hello, Ken.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me back on the podcast. It's always a pleasure to be here and talk about the things I love with my two dearest friends.
Yeah, and today we're talking about Path of Exile 2. And so this is really your guys' first impressions of the game. I've not played it at all. I've been curious about it, but I have not played the game. And I really wanted to get what you thought of it, get it out there, especially when it's so current and other people may be curious about the game. This is the perfect podcast for you. I jump in and see what these guys think. So yeah,
it's been an interesting experience so far. It's a lot less forgiving than I thought it would be for an ARPG, but we'll get into that.
A very, very enjoyable experience for me. Only 50 hours in, but what I've played so far is, it has been a lot of fun, and I am enjoying it.
It's not easy. It's not easy.
No.
I think it's got a real, quite a nice curve, but
agreed.
Maybe I just got lucky with how I built.
The best way I can describe it is it's not a forgiving game, which makes it challenging, and in turn, for me, challenging equals fun, because you have to come up with creative strategies to clear levels or to kill certain bosses, and I think that's nice. It's good fun.
What is it that drew you to the game, Stephen? Like you on the podcast, we talk a lot about AAA games, sort of big new games, especially PlayStation games. You were even talking about selling your PlayStation. So what got you to pick up Path of Exile 2? And specifically, you play on PlayStation, don't you? Him over there.
Well, it won't work on my PC, so I have to get it on PlayStation. But it's his fault.
Okay.
He mentioned Path of Exile 2. I was like, oh, okay, let's go see what it's like. So I was like, oh yeah, Path of Exile is free. Great. I'll get number 2 because it was a beta. I thought it would be a free beta. No. Paid early access. So I was a bit meh. And then I got paid a bit more. So I was like, all right, cool, why not? And yeah, honestly, I think what really drew it to me as well is actually, apart from him, is playing Brighter Shores, because Brighter Shores is so slow. I wanted something a bit faster, and Monster Hunter is a bit faster. It's not something I want to play all the time, because otherwise I'll be too far ahead of you for that to be any fun for both of us. And then I was like, oh, I didn't get Diablo 4. I mean, this is Diablo, but maybe a bit harder. Okay, cool. Let's try. So I tried Path of Exile 1 for like half an hour maybe, and I didn't get on with it because it just seemed too much to do. So yeah, getting into this from the ground up sort of seemed like it could be a fun venture, and if it's going to be going for years and years, then new ARPG to keep going on and on, go back to and back to and back to.
Nice. It's a very good reason. Ken, same to you. What drew you to this game?
So I've known about it for a while. I've always wanted to play the first Path of Exile, but I never got around to it. As the years went past, I'd play different games, and eventually Path of Exile 2 got released or got announced, and when I watched the reveal trailer, the official trailer, it just blew me away. The production put into this game is incredible. It was immense, just from the trailer, just from the official trailer, from the opening cinematic to the snippets of gameplay that you would see. It just reminded me of being so excited to play a game. I don't know if you guys know a game called Lost Ark. So
I don't.
it's another ARPG similar to Diablo and similar to Path of Exile actually, but it was presented really well in terms of how you'd interact with the environment, the skills that you'd have, and like the hordes of enemies that you'd be up against. And I just thought it was presented really well. The colors were really great. The voice acting was cool, and just the visuals. It's a beautiful game, and I just wanted to try it. And I lied. The main reason I really wanted to pick it up was from that official trailer. It would give you like a preview of the skill tree. And I say skill tree, it's not really a skill tree. It's so much more. The best way I
Fucking
can
rainforest,
describe
bruv.
exactly the best way I could describe it is it's a skill forest, and I'm such a sucker for customization and for min maxing. So when I saw that, and when I saw all the possibilities that you could do for a character in terms of skills, I just had to give it a go.
Joe, the closest comparison I can give this skill tree to any other game, if you ever zoomed out of the sphere grid on Final Fantasy X,
I was going to say it sounds like a sphere grid.
it's about that.
Yeah.
Maybe I wouldn't be able to tell you which one's bigger, but I can imagine Path of Exiles might have more nodes on it, and that Final Fantasy X, like hard sphere grid, the cut whatever, go whatever route you want
Yeah.
on, that was fucking huge.
That was big.
Well, the same size as 10, but you know.
So lots of customizing there then. Lots of things you can sink hours into. And Ken, you mentioned that you're at about 50 hours, did you say? You played?
Yes, I'm 50 hours in, and I believe towards the end of Act 2.
And how many acts are there?
6.
I believe there are 6, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So plenty more content for me to go through and sink my teeth into. Very excited to get back on it.
That's just for the early access as well. I think the final release might have more acts, most likely, because it's early access. They wouldn't release the whole story just yet, I'm sure.
So
But I have to say this is probably the best early access game I've played in terms of a product that's put forward for early access, because there's so much to do and there's so much content, and I haven't run into very many bugs. I've had a few crashes and like disconnections, but it's mostly server-based issues that they're trying to deal with because of the amount of players trying to log in and play the game. It's very popular at the moment. I believe when I checked about 3 days ago, it was a top-selling game on Steam, which is
they
an
had
incredible feat.
over 1 million sales for early access. That to me shows an incredible support from the PO, because I won't lie, I can imagine 90, not 90, maybe a good 80% of those are PoE 1 players. That shows how good the studio is, I think. I don't think if Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed or anything like that released an early access game, it would not sell 1 million units. Because people would know this game is going to be shit in early access.
yeah.
Correct.
People had faith that this was going to be a good game in early access.
Speaking about faith, this is something that I have never seen before on Steam. I don't know if you guys know, but like Steam users are very critical of their games. So, they're very hard to critique a game, and they're very brutal. This game, most of the players, it's 1 million players that basically bought the early access, and a good chunk of them, I don't know the exact numbers, but a lot of players, including myself, couldn't log in on the first
Yeah,
day.
straight away.
So imagine buying a game. Imagine spending 23 quid. Or some people have actually bought the other packs, which
the
go up
crazy ones.
to like $500 to play an early access game and not be able to play it, not be able to get into early access. The frustration and just the chaos. But amidst that, the incredible thing about it is people were saying, can't log into the game, stuck at the loading screen, best experience ever, 10 out of 10. They were rating it positively. even though they couldn't get into the game. It was incredible. Like you'll see videos about it and kind of reels about it. It's absolutely viral. People not being able to get into a video game and giving it like a positive rating. It got 83% positive ratings, even though most people couldn't log in, and that just shows like the faith that the player base has with the dev team. It's incredible. Never
Yeah.
seen anything like it.
I mean, yeah, that rating system. That's why. Like, it's fair they're doing that, but at the same time, that could you don't know if the game's gonna be good. Like,
Yeah, see, that's almost like review bombing. It
yeah,
doesn't actually
it's a
give people
positive
any
way,
sort
but yeah,
of.
it just doesn't give that thing. It's
I
sweet
understand,
they've done it. Yeah,
but it also doesn't give people a realistic expectation of the game. I don't think, because it does have
definitely,
problems. I will say that.
So before we get into any of those, can you briefly describe your character class and build so far? And do you regret it? Is that a sub
Not
follow
at
on?
all. I really wanted to play like a spin to win barbarian, like I do in Diablo, but I did see that melee's tough to play, and on like well, I didn't have a look at like class builds or anything, but I had a look on the Reddit and I was like, oh, okay, melee's not so great, and I'm new, and I'll probably die a lot and not enjoy it. So I was like, Skyrim, stealth archer, okay, and then I found poison, and I poison everything. I'm a poison machine. Nothing survives me. I am toxic as fuck. It's great. Good fun.
Comments.
Fuck you, bro. My poison rules. I might not be playing optimally, but I'm having great fun, and it's yeah, I don't die too much. People like I've seen lots of comments on Reddit. Oh, it's so hard. It takes ages to clear a map. Get some movement speed, bitch.
Is that your advice? Get some
Yeah.
movement speed, bitch.
Yeah, there's 2% ups, 2% ups, 4% ups. Go on, man, go for it. Get some boots.
So no regrets at all, and if you could repick, you'd do exactly the same again.
Well, no, I'd pick a different class because
Oh, but I mean,
class.
if you could go back in time, you'd still want to do the choice you made, so no regrets.
Yeah. If I'm first playthrough, I like archers. Archers are I like range in RuneScape. I'm a ranger in Skyrim. Still, I mean, everyone's a stealth archer in Skyrim, but stealth archer. If I can use a bow effectively, I'll use a bow because it's fun. I don't like getting hurt.
Ken, what about you?
So I picked the monk class. It's a class I usually wouldn't pick, admittedly, because I like magic classes in ARPGs and games like this, mainly because, big spells cause big boom and like loads of particle effects and visuals. That makes my dopamine go ping. But surprisingly, for this game, I decided to go with the monk class. And the reason for that is because I went for kind of like full immersion in story. So I read kind of like the little preview or kind of like just a starter story for each class, and all of them. So the way the game starts is like you're all exiles. You're about to be hanged. I don't know if we can talk about spoilers, but I'm just gonna say it anyway.
It's the beginning, man. No one cares.
Yeah, exactly. So the character kind of like selection screen is very interesting. You have a bunch of characters that are about to be hung by the neck, and each of them have a reason for being there. So a crusader or like a warrior would have like disobeyed some orders from the king or from the count of that area, and he's going to go hang. Or like there's a witch that killed a village for like burning her coven. So reasons for kind of like being exiled. Well, not exiled, but killed. Anyway, the monk spoke to me, or kind of like related to me most, because he was like searching for an entity called the Dreamer, like a deity, an ancient deity that grants him, wisdom and power. And I think he was like just classed as a zealot or something of the sort. And he was going to die because of it. And I just thought that was really cool, so I picked him. Initially, I did regret picking him because his weapon initially turned out to be really lame, which was just a quarterstaff, which is essentially a long stick. My weapon like I will need this long stick to do my abilities, and I was just like, oh, I would have loved to have gone with a sword or a wand, or like a great sword or a battle axe like the other classes. But I guess I'll stick with this for now. But as the game progressed and as I actually kind of like continued playing and leveling up my skills, I very much enjoy this class because it's very tactile, and just because of the way the weapon systems works, which I'll get into later, um, it doesn't really matter as much as it does in other games. What I don't like about other games that have class systems is once you pick the class, you are stuck with that class with a set amount of abilities from that class and a weapon type that you're stuck with for the entire for as long as you play that character. It's not the case in Path of Exile. You can use any weapon. Any class can use any weapon. It might not be optimized, but it's doable if you kind of like allocate your skill points and your attributes towards what you want. So yeah, so far for me, it's been really really enjoyable, and it's just been fun.
Oh, that's smashing, man. It's so good to hear that you've both had very different experiences. Steve was like far away shooting with a bow and arrow, and Ken very much like a monk, gonna get in there and get bopped on the head a bit. But it seems like you're both really enjoying it, and yeah, no longer. I mean, Ken, you said you nearly regretted it, but it's nice that it seems like whatever class you pick, there's going to be fun to be had in it.
Yeah.
Which then opens up that replayability, just like you said. So it will be interesting to see what some of those other classes are like later on down the line. No idea what I'd pick. I'm usually sort of like the Demon Slayer-y kind of guy in
Mercenary.
Yeah,
Really, really
yeah, I
solid.
guess that's the sort of character I go with.
These like repeating crossbows and
Yes,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then in Diablo 4, I was the Necromancer. So if there is a sort of a gothic-y character raising the dead,
I guess that'd be like an infernalist. No, I don't know I don't know anything. I'm just repeating words I've heard.
just put words out there.
Yeah.
So Path of Exile 2 is a sequel, quite clearly, from Path of Exile. And this game has this brand new engine that is talked about, this stunning visuals. Ken, right at the start, you were talking about those visuals. But to get a bit more into that, how do you think it compares to other games you've played recently? And is it really that good? Like, what would you say about those visuals?
I would say when you stop and look, the detail is incredible. I think because you're moving so much, you glaze over it a little bit. Like some of the stuff is absolutely incredible. Me and Ken were playing together a couple of days ago, and there was this tomb thing, and there's these like terracotta soldiers everywhere. They're just statues, and all of a sudden they'll just come to life. And Ken ran into a room, and the whole room was terracotta statues, like everywhere.
Suffice
Ken
to say,
died.
I died.
Ken died. I ran in there. I was over leveled, so I killed everything. But all the rubble from the terracotta warriors, my path of destruction was there. So I revived Ken, and just there was rubble everywhere, and there were bits of the bodies and stuff like that. So I very much appreciated that. The enemies didn't like melt into the floor. I could see the wake of my power. That was really cool. And the areas, although they're a bit samey in the sense that, I mean, you're in a forest. How much different can a forest look? The detail in them is really really good. But I think because as I said before, I think because you're moving through them so much, you don't really stop to notice it unless you want to stop to notice it. Because like you take a couple steps and there's more enemies. A couple steps, there's more enemies. So you're not paying as much attention to that. But when you stop and actually look around, the level of detail in the scenery is absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, wow.
For an ARPG especially as well. Because there's got to be so much going on.
Ken?
Oh, um, sorry, I was just lost in my train of thought there. So the where do I start to begin with the visuals in this game? It's just incredible. So I'm currently playing on medium resolution or kind of like medium quality graphics on my Steam Deck. I haven't touched this on like my gaming laptop yet, and
Oh
I
wow.
cannot imagine what this will look like with like a NVIDIA GTX graphics card. But I can only imagine that it's only going to get better, even on a Steam Deck with medium resolution and most of kind of like the shaders and reflections and water detail turned down, because I'm trying to kind of like find a happy balance between frame rate and graphics. It's an incredible experience so far. Honestly, the details in the trees, in the terrain, carvings on the stones, the shadows that they use are also beautifully and artistically kind of like executed. It's absolutely gorgeous as a game. I, I just can't get over the sound as well. Like audio, kind of like engineering and design is a big part of gaming for me. So like, hearing the howling of the wind, the crunching of snow, like going through the dunes and just hearing trickles of sand. I don't know if I'm imagining it, but I can hear it. It's absolutely incredible. It's great. Even the timbre, like when you have an option of breaking stuff and you can either smash it or like just kind of like open pots or like, push down a bunch of wood, that timbre of like, the notes when they hit the floor, and it's just so well put together. It's just so well arranged that it immerses you completely. I'm completely in love with the sound and the visuals. They just meld and kind of like merge together seamlessly. And like what Stephen was saying regarding the terracotta kind of like room that I got murdered in, everything is so beautifully artistically part of the world that I couldn't tell that it was an enemy. I thought it was just kind of like, an artifact or like part of the art in the background. And suddenly it comes to life. Like you'll be going down a tunnel and you'll have trees around you. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, you're getting attacked by part of like, the map. And you don't expect it. Because usually I mean, for older video games, you can kind of tell the enemy from the environment or something that's interactable to the environment, right? In this game, you can't. Everything is so beautifully blended and seamlessly kind of like put together. It's such an experience that I can't describe. You have to play it to experience it.
Yeah, just to go off of that, sorry. There's really cool things that like in ARPGs, generally you see all the mobs on the map already. Some of them might spawn in, but most of them are generally there already. From what we've been playing, like you'll walk through an enemy area, there'll be nothing, and then loads of the enemies are like there'll be one thing. Like the place I'm in at the moment, there's like a termite nest sort of thing. There's these little flowers. These little flowers are alive, and you know that they're an enemy. But when you walk past one, a bunch of like termite ant things spawn from like different points around it that aren't particularly predictable, and you're just then surrounded by ants. It's like, what the fuck? Same as with the terracotta army. I'm like, I know these ants coming. Where the fuck are they? But they're like nowhere you expect them to be. And
Exactly.
I'm really enjoying that. Like there was another one. I was going through this tomb, and out of like the pyramidy steps on the side, just bare monkeys would run down these steps and be like, ah, coming for you. It's really cool how they're doing stuff like that. I mean, I haven't played a new ARPG in ages. Diablo 4 might do stuff like that, but I just don't know. So
I
I
feel
don't
like I
know. Yeah.
will have to play Diablo 4 to compare it to see how it stacks up against PoE 2. But yeah, just visually and audio, like from an audio basis, it's just incredible. Going back to just going back to the audio, one of the like my key kind of like memories, like key moments that got me hooked into the game was in the first area. I'd be walking through kind of like this dilapidated like forest, which is kind of like rotted down. And then I'd just be walking around and I can hear a faint kind of like voice, which gets louder and louder as I go in a certain direction. So I follow this sound and you can hear the audio panning. So when you're moving in a direction, it moves to the left. And if you move to the right, you kind of like it centers. So you can follow it. And I just hear this faint singing and like faint murmuring. And it gets louder and louder as I go towards it. And I get to this clearing surrounded by like dead wolves, and there's just there's just a woman hunched over just chanting.
I remember this one.
So I approach her, and it's a boss fight. It's a boss fight. A health bar appears, and it's incredible. Loads of wolves just come and mob you, and she starts screeching and screaming, and then the music comes up to a crescendo. It's an incredible experience. I was blown away. Absolutely amazing.
That does sound really
And
cool.
there's so many moments like that in the game. It's very horror-esque, and it really, really artistically done. Big fan.
As you sort of mentioned there, it does have a more like dark, gritty sort of gothic horror to it, right?
Oh, 100%.
As opposed to being sort of bright, sparkly Minecraft dungeon style ARPG.
Yeah.
And what you both guys did mention at one point there was that you played multiplayer. So how do you compare that to playing solo? Do you get to share drops a la Borderlands? Is it Borderlands now does that? So you each get your own basically, or do you have to fight over them? How does that work?
It's fight over drops.
Oh,
I think there's some drops that might be specific because like
that might kill it for me.
Well, I mean, we go on a 1-to-1 system. So
okay.
For like, I don't think. Oh no, we have had one unique drop, but that was on your game in a low area. So it was just like, no, Ken, you take that. But like, you get these things called orbs, and there's various orbs which you can use to upgrade an equipment tiers. So we just sort of like, right, orb 1-1-1-1-1-1, or if I don't want one of like, dude, I got like 6 in my inventory, you take it, sort of thing. We're quite good with that.
Okay.
So like if a bow dropped, I'd be like, no, I'm taking that. If a quarterstaff dropped, I'd be like, I don't give a fuck about that.
Yeah.
If some armor dropped, because we're different stats, because it actually uses strength, dex, and intelligence for equipment, it might not be viable for me, so I might not give a shit. I think luckily, I think monks are like dex intelligence or strength intelligence, maybe. So I don't give a fuck about intelligence stuff. I just want pure dexterity stuff. So it doesn't. If I see someone with intelligence, I'll be like, yeah, Ken, there you go. So I think we're quite lucky like that. We haven't had too many fights over something. But if there's something like super cool, then we're gonna. We need what the game needs is like PvP over loot. Like there can be like one drop, and you can put it into, and you fight over it. I think that'd be sweet.
It could even just be like Rochambeau, couldn't it?
Yeah.
It's really simple. Pick rock, paper, scissors.
It's Path of Exile, man. You got to fight. You got to kill each other.
Fair enough. Is there PvP?
Not. I don't think so. Okay. I don't know if there was in PoE 1. I doubt it. No. There might be though. But because builds could get so extreme, I guess you could like, who knows? I don't know enough about either game really to say, like, maybe Ken's character one shots mine just every single time, no matter what. Maybe my character Ken can't catch my character. So there's who knows.
It'd be interesting to see how they'd implement PvP into it for sure.
Because I'm like halfway across the map before Ken, because I put a lot of movement speed shit on. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to scout. Done.
So you get unique loot that you have to share between the two of you. In terms of story progression, does that carry over when you go back to your own game world?
Yeah.
So I've only gone back to Ken's area. Although I think when we played in the desert, I think we were doing the same bit at the end, maybe? I can't remember.
I think we were. We got to a point where we were at the same kind of like part in the game, which we haven't encountered before.
Yeah. And we were exploring that huge tomb, weren't we?
Yeah, so the way the game works is it's instant based. So each area that you go into will be instance based. You will be able to fight, the bosses that you've defeated before or haven't in that area. And any players that are with you will be able to kind of like run through those bosses or kind of like mobs over and over again as many times as you'd like.
Okay.
I think what we would have to see is if there are quests that I've completed but you haven't, if you can still complete the quests if you come into my instances.
Yeah.
That would be the only thing I don't think would know, because when I've joined yours, I've already finished like the side quests and stuff that we've done. I've
You
already
already
finished
done
those, so I don't see any of that.
I see.
Even though I'm in your instance, so I'd wonder if you're in my instance, if those quest options will still be available to you. That'd be an
Do
interesting
you
thing to see.
get the experience again for recompleting the quest?
No,
No.
no.
Okay.
And like, so when I first joined Ken, I was like level 20 something. He was level 16. I wasn't getting experience either because things were too low level. But it does sort of like average. It makes it it's same as another ARPG. Another person comes in, enemies health, defense, and whatever goes up a bit. I don't know the exact metrics or numbers that they use, but it says loot is increased, enemy blah 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 is increased. But I do think, like quest progression, like if we were doing the main story all together, all at the same point, if I then go back into my world, yes, I would be at that point.
No,
But
that's
we would
cool.
have to be at that point together,
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of thing.
yeah. I got you. No, that's really good to hear because that's a stickler for me. Is always story progression. If I spend like a couple of hours playing with someone and we go past where I'm at in the story, I don't want to then have to go back into my world and redo that story. I want to be able to, carry on from where we both left off. And Ken sort of answered this already, but I was going to ask about any memorable story moments so far or NPC interactions. But I mean, it sounds like they're just out there in the world to be found, eh? You're just going to go around a corner and have these memorable moments.
In terms of the exploration bit, yes, but in terms of characters, they are some of the most well put together characters I've encountered in a video game.
There's some
Honestly,
great ones.
like you really form a connection with these characters. Every single interaction that you have with an NPC or with a character in the game is voiced. So you'll never just get text. You'll always get a character, a voice character, kind of like narrating or speaking to you. And the accents that they use and the way they speak is completely in character. It's not a specific accent that we would find in our world. It's kind of like a mishmash of like
Mishmash.
fantasy along with kind of like what we'd recognize in the real world, for example. It's very, very much, it's an original take and it's really, really great. I don't know how to describe it. But take, for example, in the first area, you'll meet the main quest giver called, I think her name is Una. I don't know if I got that right. Stephen will correct me if I'm wrong. But she
No.
I think it
she
was. Did we
comes
find our
across
loot
as
box?
yeah, exactly. She comes
Yeah,
across
yeah,
as
her.
such a sweet girl, and the way she sighs, her tone, and the way she's just kind of like wayward and just wishing for
She,
things to be better. You know,
she reminded me of a firekeeper.
yeah, exactly. You really really connect with her, and not only that, but the game tends to reuse characters, so like you don't just have one interaction with them; they develop with you depending on how far you get into the game. They change with your character, like they
Wow.
develop, which is really really cool. And she's a quest giver, but she'll also give you information on the world or like the town that you're in, all voiced. So it's all beautifully kind of like dialogued. And even like she also doubles as a vendor, so she'll say like, oh, I know all of these things about the world, you need to do this quest, but I also like collecting things. Is there anything that you'd like from mine? And that's how she said like, would you like to trade? And when you sell her stuff, because you'll be getting a lot of loot, right? It's an ARPG. Monsters are going to drop loot. You're going to want to sell them for gold. She, depending on the rarity of the loot that you give her, so if it's a common loot, for example, she'll say thank you. It's just like, I'll take it. But if it gets rare, she's just like, oh, I love this. This is really nice. And if it's really, really rare, she'll be like, it's beautiful. I'll cherish it forever, kind of thing. It just, there's so much effort put into the characters in this game. It just blows me away.
I didn't notice that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
But I break everything, so I'm like, I don't sell very
No,
much
I
anymore.
like
Everything
immersing
gets
myself. So
broken.
like,
I
I
don't know.
pick up on these small things. It's
But I
just
would
beautiful. She's just such a beautiful character.
absolutely agree. There's a lady in the third area who she's like my spirit character in this game. This old black lady who's I'm pretty sure she must be like the witch doctor for the town. You go up to her and she's got this fat cigar hanging out her mouth. and she is definitely based on an old Jamaican lady, and you can hear that sort of patois twang, but she doesn't speak in patois. But I love her; she's great. Um, and there are like some like monsters that I've had interactions with that I'll always have to go back and fight that monster just because it makes me laugh so much. It's like in the area I'm in at the moment, I'm just running through this forest. All of a sudden, like with Ken's spooky witch bitch before, I hear like monkeys. So I'm like, yeah, cool. Let's go find some monkeys. I found a big monkey.
Yeah,
He's a
audio
big
panning in
monkey,
this game.
and this monkey spawns like a meter away from the checkpoint. So every time I die, it's just monkey, and I die. Monkey, he's right there next to me. I'm like, no, monkey, run away! And although he fucked me up so much, I had so much fun with him fucking me up with his big old like pillar column thing weapon he's got. But I was like, I don't care. You smash me on the head as much as you want. I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to come back and kill you again. I love you, monkey.
I love you, monkey. In terms of that coming back again, how has the leveling experience felt? Is it like a smooth progression? Does it feel really grindy? Can you see an end point, or does it feel very much you just?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
In all honesty, I think there are some like level progression systems that we haven't fully unlocked yet. So we've each completed one thing called a Trial of Secamus, which allows you to go into your ascendancy path or something like that, and you pick like the subclass for your character. We've only completed one level of that, and that keeps going. I've tried to do the second level, but I keep getting fucked up like at the boss, and the item that you use to go into the trial is consumable, so you have to go out and find another one. And I think there is another one or two level progression systems like that ascendancy thing. It might only be one, but I've seen people talk about that trial and another thing akin to it when I, scroll through Reddit.
Yeah.
So I can see sort of maybe an end path, but I not knowing enough about maybe Path of Exile 1's endgame, how your character's meant to be. I'm sort of winging it. So I don't know.
But in terms of grindiness, are you finding it at the moment for story stuff? Because you said it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard. The last like proper ARPG I think I played was like Diablo 3 and Reaper Assaults. But I would say I'm quite well versed because I've platinum both versions of that game.
Yeah.
I sunk fucking way too many hours into them. It's much more grindy at the moment, but again, we're early. I don't know if when we get later on, if leveling gets easier. I wouldn't say it's particularly grindy, but then you're talking to RuneScape players, so it's not really grindy at all. If I make a comparison, but it does take a little while to level up, and sometimes, like some games, every level up feels consequential. I would say not every level up feels consequential.
Okay.
In this, maybe on your ascendancy it does because they give you like quite like nice, cool stat boosts, and there are some levels which are very noticeable because of the nodes that you pick in your passive tree. But if you level up and then just pick one of like a super basic node, it's not going to make a difference between like level 30 and 31 because all you've done is put something on a little node, which doesn't make it gives you a little boost, but not something crazy. But then there are nodes which are like big nodes which give you awesome mega super things. So those ones, yeah, you get a nice little buff to your build. But it's overwhelming because there's so many options. I will say that. Yeah. I don't know what to pick. I'm picking what I think I should pick, but I really don't know at all. There's so many prefixes and suffixes and words which can affect things. Like, yeah, I could spend probably the next half hour just talking about that. So
can you respec?
Yes, it costs gold. It apparently does get quite expensive though. I've only respec'd one point so far.
What about you, Cam? What do you think? The leveling?
The leveling for me, in terms of like game progression and character progression, is not grindy at all.
Okay.
I cannot feel the grind, if I'm being completely honest, mainly because I'm just having too much fun. Um, just because of the nature of the game. Going into an instance or like fighting a boss doesn't have a time limit. So you can go in completely underleveled and still beat the boss if you're really good at dodging and kind of like using your skills effectively and avoiding attacks. The game is incredibly unforgiving, so it's punishing is the word that I'm looking for. It's very punishing, but it's fair. It's doable. You can go to any area, you can go fight anything, but you will lose if you're not prepared to do what the game asks of you. So if you tank attacks that you're not supposed to, you will die.
When monkeys smash you on the head with a big rock, you gonna
Exactly.
die.
But you could go in completely underleveled, like undergeared, and beat a boss. It will take a long time. You'll be dodging and rolling, but that for me is like an incredible experience in and of itself. The leveling system for me it just doesn't feel like a grind. Like I'd be going through an area and I'd level up a few times and I'd die in the process. But because I'm having so much fun with the gameplay, I'll go back to my character and say like, oh shit, I've got like five skill points that I need to allocate on the skill tree, which could make me significantly stronger. But like I didn't even notice it. I'm usually over leveled for the area that I'm already at because I'm just having so much fun killing things, dying, and when you die, everything respawns, but they respawn in different places, so it keeps the map fresh. So like when you die to an
Yeah.
enemy in a certain area,
Oh, cool.
it won't necessarily be there when you respawn. Everything respawns again, but the enemies are re-rolled, so that the bosses will like mini bosses will have like re-rolled stats, for example, or like elite bosses, rare bosses that are on the map
They'll
will
have
be
different
different. So it keeps it
prefixes and
interesting, and you
suffixes.
can you can fight them again for a chance to get higher quality gear and like gold. So like it's just been fun for me. So it doesn't feel like a grind at all. Like honestly.
It's really cool as well because what you can do is when you go up to an instance entrance or if you go to a waypoint, you can, if you've been into that area before, you've teleported back to the home area and you've completed that instance, you've run around all the map, you can go to your waypoint and you can, if you hold down whatever button you've got to select, so for PlayStation, I hold down X. If I hold down X on that instance, it brings up your instance manager and I can select to go back into the one that I was in or create an entirely new one and jump into that.
Ah,
So
Yeah.
you can it's I I can imagine though other ARPGs having something similar, but that for someone that likes weapon grinding and like trying to
yeah.
farm items, that was nice for me because like I said to Ken yesterday, I found a nice little route where I could fight three gold rarity bosses and find a gold chest guaranteed every time because they're guaranteed spawns and they're like super close to the entrance. So I could run around or do all that in 5 minutes and then start again.
Nice.
Yeah, and that instant based system that they use, which is quite intuitive as well. And I say instance. Usually, when I think of instance, it's like a boss battle or it's a small room, right? You clear the objectives in that room, and then you can move on. This is an instance map, so it's
Mm.
an entire game instanced. If that makes any sense, it's an entire area instanced. So that's how they get. That's how they get around kind of like players being at different progression levels story wise in the game.
Yeah.
You join my instance, so everything that's happening in my world you get to experience again. But I won't. It won't be able. I don't think it's applicable the other way around. If I haven't been to where he is, and he's further in the story than me, I won't be able to join him, but he'll be able to join me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So going forward, it sounds like you're both really enjoying what you're playing. I mean,
I'm gonna have to
take
play
like,
after this now.
yeah. um, but is there any niggles about the game? I mean, it sounds like Stephen, you said it nearer the start. It's not a perfect game, which we know it's in a thing. It's early access. But are there any niggles that you hope they get rid of? And are there any positives that you just want more of?
Yes, I need to pee.
Okay, go Pete. All right. So back from urination.
Much better.
So yeah, I don't even recall the question, but it's what Are there any niggly bits about the game that you hope they remove before final release? And is there, or progression of the story, like as you play it more? And are there any positives that you've enjoyed in the story that you want more of to continue?
So,
Well,
although I did say earlier, get some movement speed, bitch, I would like to be a little bit faster because the maps are really big,
okay.
and having to intentionally spec into some movement speed. I imagine that's part of the game, what you're meant to do, but it would just be a little bit. I would like to move quicker,
Quality of
which
life.
is why I've had to spec into movement speed. I think it's maybe somewhat important to my character because I'm a ranger. I'm meant to kite, but I am quick. But the map's like I want to explore the whole map, obviously, and you'll get to one point, and I'll be like, oh, I followed the main path, and now I've got to go all the way back, all over here to go. I would, yeah, maybe some ability to move between the end of a map to the beginning of it. So, like, if
Yeah.
you get to the entrance to the next area you're supposed to go, have a waypoint there as well, maybe, or just some way to teleport back to the start.
Yeah.
I would like so I could explore more, but I think that's a very small thing because you're meant to run, I guess, but something like that would be nice. I think.
Okay.
Um,
So no mounts, I assume.
no, no
So that's
mounts.
something they could add quite easy, isn't it?
I was just going to say I would like to see mounts on this game. For the same reason as Steven mentioned, the maps are huge. The instance maps are huge.
Have you seen Path of Exile One's movement? So they have a lot more dashes and stuff like that. Whereas my character so far, I've got an escape attack, which backflips me away a little bit,
Yeah,
but I have no like zoom, which
yeah.
feels a bit weird, you know?
So
Interesting.
I think they purposely made it like that to make it more challenging. So I was reading something on Reddit about how the developer purposely didn't make movement abilities in the game so that you'd have a little bit more weight to your character,
Okay.
and also kind of like so you couldn't just zoom past content, you'd actually have to engage with things, which I think is nice. I mean, I haven't had a problem with it so far, mainly because of how much I'm enjoying the game, but I am in my honeymoon phase. It's still very, very early days. I'd imagine it'd get tedious over time. But so far, it isn't an issue for me. But just because of the way the game is designed, like you have to dodge and like roll away from things, and it tries to do it in a way that is challenging. If you don't kind of like avoid certain sequences and attacks, you will get punished for it. And
Yeah.
I think movement abilities would take away from that, and that's what the developer was trying to kind of like avoid. That's kind of why it's being compared to a lot of Souls games, because like when you dodge, you can't attack, but you can interrupt your kind of like your actions really, really well here. It does it really, really well. You could be charging up for a spell, and then you can quickly roll out of the way and cancel it to avoid an attack, and vice versa. You could kind of like roll and then quickly go into an attack. It's just really well done. But yeah, I would love to see mounts. I think mounts would be a great addition.
I don't really see the point of mounts though, because otherwise, like, when would you use one? I
Um,
get like what I was saying about maybe teleporting back. You've cleared all the enemies, but you're going to have to get on and off that mount every second
yeah,
whilst you're
yeah,
clearing a
correct,
map.
yeah, yeah. I'd imagine so. I guess
I think
I'd
quick points would be better,
Yeah.
I'd
personally.
use I'd
I
use it to kind of
just
like traverse quickly through areas that I've already cleared if I haven't died in that area. If that makes sense. We'd had kind of like
So it could be
situations
like,
where you and me. Sorry. We'd have situations where me and Steven would go to different parts of the map, clear it. So we'd kill everything in the area. Then we'd have to meet back at a point to go to an area in the
okay,
map
yeah.
that we haven't discovered yet, which is probably the way out of the map into the next area. So I think that would be a good use of mounts.
so maybe
But
you
yeah,
can't like summon your mount until the map's been cleared.
or until you're
Or a
safe at
warp,
least.
or make warp two. If you're in the same area, you actually warp to that person. So,
Yeah, that's
me and Ken
really
join a
good.
party, I can go into his. I can warp to if I'm in whatever area I'm in. I can warp to Ken, but I warp to the beginning of
Waypoint.
the instance that he started in, or whatever checkpoint he's got to last. It'd be nice if maybe if you are in that instance together, you warp to target. As long as they're not in combat, you warp to them. That
That's good,
maybe.
And then to get back to the question,
I don't want another thing to grind, Ken. I know we like grinding, man, but I don't want to have to grind out mounts as well. Like I am grinding out pets and shit on this bit, like
Okay.
hats and level. Like,
so to quickly get your positive, Steve, is something that you'd want to see more of as you play more of the game, or something they could add that would, other than the movement speed, like no, not something they could add, something that you just want to see more of that the game has and it's good and you want more of that. Sorry, to be clear.
honestly, just keep doing what it's doing. To be honest,
Perfect.
apart from like really movement speed, I really like how unforgiving it is. I sent Ken a picture yesterday which broke my heart. Yeah, if you die and there's drops on the ground, those drops are gone.
Oh, yep, I noticed.
Yep.
It's happened to me a few times.
That's
Yeah. Yesterday,
It's
killed a
punishing.
boss. Bling! Big orange beam. Bruh, you died. All within a second.
Yep.
I couldn't have used a
Wow.
weapon. It wasn't for my class. So I wasn't so cut up about it, but
dear.
yeah. But I don't want that to change.
Oh
At all.
really? You
No.
wouldn't want the treasure to stay?
Nope. One of the things I love about RuneScape is you die, you keep 3 items. Well, now it's easier. Yeah, you can go to death and be like, yeah, here, have 500k and I want my items back. But it's not forgiving. There's consequences.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Pay attention. Yeah.
Consequences are good. Like they kind of like you form an attachment to your character and the items that you've obtained through hard work and grinding. And I think having consequences and the possibility to lose them is good because it makes the game more engaging. It makes you care about the game a little bit more rather than just like, oh, I'm just going to grind through this.
Yeah.
My objective is to kill all of this. If I die, nothing really matters. And you get bored of kind of like that cycle. And here you're just like, I need to stay alive. I have to stay alive. I must live.
Yeah. So I can imagine on PoE 1, because I've seen some videos and how quick people like dash around the maps here, I reckon what happens in those is people just dash around, kill everything, and then come back and collect what they want. Whereas if you tried to do that here, because your inventory space is limited, yeah, you could just teleport, walk back, and take a little bit longer, which is what we would do. Some people will want to clear everything, see what they've got, and then go pick up those things, maybe. Yeah. Whereas now, if you try to do that shit, you die, they're all gone. Sort of thing. Maybe that happened in PoE 1 as well. That might be a mechanic in there, but I imagine... I don't know. But
And then, so Ken, what about you? Obviously you've sung this game's praises. Is there any bits that you'd like them to sort of fix or change that aren't quite working for you?
Since it's so early, there aren't many. I haven't encountered many bugs, only a few server issues. So probably more stable servers so I don't get kicked out as much. But it hasn't been happening lately, I'll admit. Towards the beginning, it was really bad, but it happens occasionally, but very rarely. And sometimes, like, I guess it's my fault. It's not the game's fault. But when I panic and, you know, when things get really, really intense, I sometimes bring up the chat menu, which inputs my commands on the Steam Deck, on my controller as, like, you know, as characters and text, and like I'm stuck there getting comboed by a boss, and like how do I get out of this? But it's mainly my fault. I just need to configure my my keypad and controller setup better so I don't trigger that. I'm still trying to figure that out. But yeah, that's on me. I think the only thing that I would say that needs improving would probably be unique items in terms of how they look, but I'd imagine that it would only get better over time because the unique items that I've only got one unique item, and it was a drop for my character when me and Steven were playing, and so unique items are currently the game's kind of like highest tier in terms of what you can get, and it just, you know, it had a cool name. I can't remember what it's called now. It's been like 4 days and like 3 hangovers since I played the game. So I can't remember the name of my weapon, but it just looked like a really, really plain long torch.
Okay.
You know, it didn't
kind
scream
of like unique. It
Yeah, it didn't scream
screamed
unique. It didn't scream
basic.
unique. It didn't have sparkles on it. It didn't have like cool lighting effects or whatever. But I guess that's where the game's kind of like
I think
microtransaction shop comes into play
I also
because
think that might just be the Path of Exile art style to a degree.
yeah, yeah,
It's a
yeah, I guess.
little. I wouldn't say it's more serious than Diablo, but it feels like its tone. Like Diablo's a dark gothic game, but this I feel like Diablo's a 7. This is a 9
Yeah,
sort of thing. So like
100%.
the pretty
100%.
sparklies, yeah, keep it cosmetic. I don't know. Well, not keep it cosmetic. It'd be cool for like I imagine wizard spells look fucking awesome still, but I get where you're coming from.
Yeah. And also, I don't know. I guess it's just coming from a perspective where I get attached to my in-game character. A little bit more customization in how our individual characters look would be nice because you don't have that option in this game.
Okay.
You pick a character, and
Looking at your character from behind.
I know, but still, I'd like that. It's just it's not a big like deal
I think
breaker
it
for
takes
me.
away game resources. And this,
Okay,
sorry,
fair enough,
I
fair
haven't said
enough,
so. This is
fair enough.
Yeah, we're all allowed our own opinion, right? And
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
both
yeah.
right. Yeah, it takes up game resource things, but for some people, that will make them
Then
feel,
again,
I,
like Monster Hunter,
yeah,
we got helmets on the whole
I
time.
was
And
so
we spent ages making ourselves look
make it
pretty.
yourself, and then you put a
You're
helmet
right.
on. But you know, is that thing where but you know that if you took the helmet off, Dark Souls. Why do I
Yeah.
ever make myself? Unless you're wearing around naked, you're never going
Yeah.
to see what you look like. You can take your helmet off, obviously.
I would
Well,
say
that might not necessarily be true in this game because you have transmogs and you have items that basically go over your character. So like you will be you will have the option of running around. Like in Final Fantasy, for example, you have transmogs in that game. You can be fully kitted out wearing a bikini, for example. Going going against the ball.
That isn't the what we're sort of saying. Is that's not the the
character
usual
creation, like
Yeah.
creation.
yeah yeah. The
I would
creation in
say
these sort
some.
of games is more the armor you put on, isn't it? That's more of you personalize yourself with
Yeah,
your
that's the
armor and your
expression.
weapons.
Well, for me, that's the expression.
That yeah. Well, again, me.
But I would say some uniques though. They do. I would say some look pretty cool from what I've had. Like my bow was pretty sweet. Although to be fair, it does just look like a bunch of sticks all just sort of jammed together for the what it does. It's a cooler looking bow. The helmet I got was like it reminds me of the of some guys in Elden Ring. There's these like sorcerers. They've got these massive like stone block heads. Um, it reminds me
Oh
of them.
yes, I remember that helmet that you got. Yes,
And then
it's really really cool looking.
I got some shoes the other day,
Yeah.
which are like little fucking beach sandals with like a little flower on them. I'm like, well, cool, whatever.
Admittedly, yeah.
Uniques. I think we need to find some more because I
Yeah.
don't think we don't have a sample size because the ones ones I've found so far, although the shoes do look a little bit lame, I got little flowers on my feet, but
Yeah.
I would like it if
Admittedly,
stuff like that gave you like a little like footstep
Yeah,
trail
yeah.
or something like that. But again, early access, so.
I haven't unlocked many uniques, so I guess I just have to play the game a little bit more to give a fair kind of like judgment on it or like take on it, I guess.
Like, just thank you so much, guys, both of you, for taking the time today to let me ask you lots of questions about Path of Exile 2. It's been really informative, and you guys clearly enjoy the game, and there's clearly a lot to enjoy about it. And so here's to the future and much, much more grinding and leveling.
I would say, as conclusion, I think Path of Exile 2 is perfect for people like me and Ken that haven't played Path of Exile 1. I think if you've played Path of Exile 1, it's so much faster and you've probably played so much of it that the start of a new ARPG to you is going to be completely foreign. And I don't think people that play Path of Exile 1 quite are grasping that. They might be, but people are like, it's not Path of Exile 1. I'm like, well, no, it's Path of Exile 2. Like, you can say that this system was better, It's a game in early access, and it's a brand new ARPG. You're not going to be able to fucking bolt through it like you're in endgame. Slow down. You're not going to get, I didn't get this, blah, 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 blah. I didn't get that, blah, blah. When you start the Diablo, like, do you get crazy shit right off the bat? Maybe like 1 per act, 2 per act at most. That's kind of what's happening now. When you get to the end, you'll get more. Like, get your stats up. Get numbers go under.
And yes, I wanted to get your last impressions, and then if you can, very much this is first impressions. Cannot stress enough, this isn't an end review, but for your first impression of the score, like for your first impressions of the game, what score you give it out of 5? So obviously that was your conclusion there. What sort of unless there's anything else you want to have, please. But what sort of score would you give it at this point out of 5, based on 4? Oh wow, cool.
For actually no, for it being an early access game, I'll give it 5.
Oh,
if it was a full release, 4. Well, maybe it probably might be a little bit lower if it's full release, but for an early access game, for 25 quid, it's fucking great.
Oh, what's singing praise? You put that on the box.
Yeah, like I don't understand why people complain about games in early access. It's not it's a. Did they whatever AAA title you and actually say, yeah, this is a full game, play 60 quid for it, and it's actually no, by the way, we haven't finished this bit yet. We'll give you that in a couple of weeks. No, it's early access. This is alpha. This is beta. Like, just crack on, have fun, do stupid shit. Don't take it serious.
And then the same to you, Ken. So sort of like closing thoughts on the game, and then a score out of 5 based on the fact you haven't completed it. It's just what you played so far. But if you had to knife to throat, score out of 5, what do you say?
It's a solid 4.5 for me, or 4, solid 4 for sure for early access. I mean, if we're talking for early access, it would be a shame, or it'd be kind of like doing it a disservice to rate it anything lower than a 4. Because it's that amazing. It's really, really good.
Beautiful. Well, thank you both so much again. And just to really polish out, was there anything else anyone wanted to add before we end this very special Path of Exile 2 first impression stream?
I'm sure Ken will agree with me. Act 2 has one of the best home bases I have ever seen in a video game.
Blew me away.
No spoilers. Get it, and just go stand up the front.
It made me laugh shamelessly, and I will say that shamelessly, because people will understand when they get to Act 2 and when they get to the home hub, like the town hub there. It shamelessly made me...
If you're standing there with somebody, you could do the Titanic thing, but it'd be kind of dark. It'd be cool.
Yeah. That's all we'll say on the
king
matter.
of the world, and something else.
Literally.
Well,
when we get it for you, you'll see.
Very much looking forward to seeing that if and when I do play Path of Exile 2, which now I really do want to. Where do you find the time? I don't know. Please do catch us on Spotify. Links there. It will also be down in the description. Also, don't forget you can find us on Twitch, where we stream. You can see it there. So me and Stephen we play Wednesdays, and I also stream
Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, Tuesdays.
We stream a lot more often now. We need to change the title, but we play Monster Hunter. It is really what it is, and we've been loving it. And we are now at Iceborne, so make sure you come back to check that out the next time we stream.
Like, comment, subscribe. Raid Shadow Legends, HelloFresh. What's another one? I'm trying to think of one more.
Shave your balls.
Yeah, that one. Shave your balls.
Shave your balls. Until next time, I've been Beyond Joe.
I am still Steven.
And I am always Ken.
And thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Oh, Ken, you should have said it in another one.
Yeah, no, we'll leave it with that. Thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Said what?
Don't worry.
Sorry, I have like 2 brain cells at the moment, guys.
Yeah, no,
in another world.